The Wands in the Thoth deck. Hello everyone, this is Taliesin McKnight, and this is exclusively for Patreon. We're going to be cycling through the wands of the minor arcana of the Thoth Tarot together. This video can be used as a meditative aid, and honestly, I would listen to it over and over and over again to help internalize. This video is going to require the Thoth Tarot deck, and you're going to need the Book of Thoth for this. So we're going to cycle through the minor arcana. The first thing that you're going to need to do is to put the cards in order. Take out all of the wands, the aces all the way to the 10 of wands. Take all of the wands out and all of the court cards and put them in order. So to get the most out of this video, you're going to need a Thoth deck, and you're going to need to put them in order. So in the front is the Ace of Wands, behind that is the 2 of Wands, behind that is the 3 of Wands, etc., on all the way to 10, and then the Knight, Queen, Prince, and Princess. So 14 cards here. And we're going to cycle through this, and this can be used as a meditative aid. I recommend working through this every day for a week to internalize it. Now, two things are going on. 1 through 10 is associated with the 10 Sephiroth of the Tree of Life. Not the aces, but 2 through 10 are also associated with the deacons of the zodiac. And then the court cards. The Knight, you could say the tip of the Yod is in Keter, but really the Knight is Chokmah, the Queen is Binah, the Prince is the 6th Sephiroth from Chesed down to Yesod, but especially in Tiferet, and then the Princess is in Malkut. And then you have the Sephiroth, then you have the deacons. So, without further ado, to get the most out of this, you'll need a Thoth deck, and I recommend that you pause the video, take out the wands, and put them in order. So I recommend you pause the video, take out all of the wands, and put them in order. This is going to take a minute, but we're going to work through this together. So, without further ado, let us begin. I do things like this all the time. For me, it's just part of a process. I undergo a process every now and then. I'll cycle through, I'll take 4 weeks, and every day for a week I'll go through one of the suits every day. And then the second week, the cups, etc. I go through these types of process. This is just a matter of course for me. This is the kind of thing that I do. And I found it very useful, so I think it can also help others. So once I have more videos up, these can be done in any order, however people want to use them, whatever use they get out of it. So we got the cards in order. We're going to cycle through the wands of the Book of Thoth. Now, this was written by Aleister Crowley. He says some weird stuff sometimes. The thing is, he does a good job with the Tree of Life, but he also says some offensive, beyond edgy stuff that I can't. So he says some weird stuff, but he does a good job. So if he said, if I read something wonky, I don't want to be held accountable. I'm just working through the cards, okay? So, the Book of Thoth. We're going to go to page 177. We're going to start with the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands. And this refers to Keter. So take out your Ace of Wands, and here we go, page 177. It's talking about the aces in general. The aces represent the roots of the 4 elements. They are quite above and distinct from the other small cards, in the same way as Keter is said to be symbolized only by the topmost point of the Yod of Tetragrammaton. In these cards, the aces, is no real manifestation of the element in its material form. They form a link between the small cards and the princesses who rule the heavens around the North Pole. The meridian is the Great Pyramid, and the elements rule going eastward in the order of Tetragrammaton: fire, water, air, earth. Thus, roughly, aces, princesses, wands cover Asia, cups, the Pacific Ocean, swords, the Americas, discs, Europe and Africa. To make this relationship clear, one may go a little into the symbol of the pentagram or shield of David. It represents spirit ruling the four elements and is thus a symbol of the triumph of man. The idea of the element of spirit is very difficult to grasp. The letter Shin, which is the letter of fire, has to do double duty by representing spirit as well. Generally speaking, the attributions of spirit are not clear and simple like those of the other elements. It is very remarkable that the tablet of spirit in the Enochian system is the key to all mischief, as in the Hindu system, Akasha is the egg of darkness. On the other hand, spirit represents Keter. Perhaps it was never in the mind of the exempt adept or adepts who invented the tarot to go so far into this matter. The point to remember is that, both in their appearance and in their meaning, the aces are not the elements themselves, but the seeds of those elements. So that was just in general about the aces. Now we go to page 188, specifically the Ace of Wands. The root of the powers of fire, the Ace of Wands. This card represents the essence of the element of fire in its inception. It is a solar phallic outburst of flame from which spring lightnings in every direction. These flames are yods arranged in the form of the tree of life. For yod, see Atu 9 Supra. It is the primordial energy of the divine manifesting in matter at so early a stage that it is not yet definitely formulated as will. Important. Although these small cards are sympathetic with their Sephirotic origin, they are not identical, nor are they divine persons. These, and the court cards also, are primarily sub-elements, parts of the blind forces under the Demiurgos, Tetragrammaton. Their rulers are the intelligences, in the Yetziratic world, who go to form the Shem HaMephiresh. Nor is even this name Lord of the Universe, though it be truly divine, as are the lords of the Atu in the element of spirit. Each Atu possesses its own private, personal, and particular universe, with Demiurgos and all the rest complete, just as every man and every woman does. For example, the high priestesses or the lovers, 3 of discs, might represent the establishment of such an oracle as that of Delphi. Or the adjustments might be the formula of a code such as Manu gave to Hindustan. The Hierophant's 3 of discs might be the creation of a cathedral. The Tower's 3 of discs, a standing army, and so on. So each Atu or major arcana has like its own universe, and the minor arcana like make that up as sub-elements. The great point is that all the elemental forces, however sublime, powerful, or intelligent, are blind forces and no more. The Ace of Wands, the Two of Wands. The Two of Wands, Dominion. Again, there are two things at work. The two refers to Hokmah, the element of fire. And there's a deacon here, which is unrelated to the Sephiroth, which is Mars and Aries. So first of all, we're going to go to page 177. The twos. These cards refer to Hokmah. From the point of view of the ordinary person, Hokmah is really number one and not number two, because he is the first manifestation. Keter is completely concealed, so that nobody knows anything about it at all. Hence, only on reaching the deuces does an element appear as the element itself. Hokmah is uncontaminated by any influence. Therefore, the elements here appear in their original harmonious condition. The Two of Wands is called the Lord of Dominion and represents the energy of fire, fire in its best and highest form. Page 189, specifically the Two of Wands, Dominion. The Two of Wands. This card pertaining to Hokmah in the suit of fire represents the will in its most exalted form. It is an ideal will, independent of any given object. For pure will, unassuaged of purpose, delivered from the lust of result, is every way perfect. The background of this card shows the power of the planet Mars. Now we're getting into the deacons. The power of the planet Mars in his own sign Aries, the first of the signs. It there represents energy initiating a current of force. The pictorial representation is two dorjes crossed. The dorje is a Tibetan symbol of the thunderbolt, the emblem of the celestial power, but more in its destructive than its creative form. More, that is, in its earlier rather than its later form. For destruction may be regarded as the first step in the creative process. The virgin ovum must be broken in order to fertilize it. Fear and repulsion are therefore the primary reaction to the assault. Then, with understanding of the complete plan, willing surrender rejoices to cooperate. 6 flames issue from the center. This indicates the influence of the sun, who is exalted in Aries. This is the creative will. Mars in Aries is the attribution of the geomantic figure Puer. The meaning of these figures is to be studied in the Handbook of that Science, the Equinox, Volume 1, Number 2. Remember that the geomantic intelligences are all primarily gnomes. The Three of Wands. Again, this video should be seen as like a meditative aid. This is to cycle through the tarot. The threes. And these refer to Binah on the Tree of Life. Page 178. The 4 threes, the threes. These cards are referred to Binah. In each of them is expressed the symbolism of understanding. The idea has become fertilized. The triangle has been formulated. In each case, the idea is of a certain stability which can never be upset, but from which a child can issue. The Three of Wands is accordingly the Lord of Virtue. The idea of will and dominion has become interpreted in character. Now we go to page 190, the Three of Wands, Virtue. This card refers to Binah in the suit of fire, and so represents the establishment of primeval energy. The will has been transmitted to the mother, who conceives, prepares, and gives birth to its manifestation. It refers to the sun in Aries, the sign in which he is exalted. The meaning is harmonious, for this is the beginning of spring. For this reason, one sees the wand taking the form of the lotus and blossom. The sun has enkindled the Great Mother. In the I Ching, Sol in Aries is represented by the 11th hexagram Tai. Its meaning is identical with the above description. The Four of Wands. Completion. The Four of Wands. Let's take a look at this here. So the Four of Wands, page 179, and the fours refer to Chesed. These cards are the fours. These cards are attributed to Chesed. The connection between the number 4 and the number 3 is extremely complex. The important characteristic is that 4 is below the abyss. Therefore, in practice, it means solidification, materialization. Things have become manifest. The essential point is that it expresses the rule of law. In the wand suit, the card is called completion. The manifestation promised by Binah has now taken place. This number must be very solid, because it is the actual dominating influence on all the following cards. Chesed, Jupiter, Amun, the Father, the first below the abyss, is the highest idea which can be understood in an intellectual way, and that is why the Sephira is attributed to Jupiter, who is the demiurge. On page 190, about the Four of Wands completion, the Four of Wands in particular. Completion, the Four of Wands. This card refers to Chesed in the suit of fire. Being below the abyss, it is the Lord of all manifested active power. The original will of the two has been transmitted through the three, and is now built up into a solid system, order, law, government. It is also referred to Venus in Aries, which indicates that one cannot establish one's work without tact and gentleness. The wands are headed by the ram, sacred to Chesed, the father god Amun-Ra, as also to Aries, but at the other end of the wands are the doves of Venus. In the symbol, the ends of the wands touch a circle, showing the completion and limitation of the original work. It is within this circle that the flames four-double, as if to assert the balance of the energy, are seen to play, and there is no intention to increase the scope of the original will, but this limitation bears in itself the seeds of disorder. The Five of Wands. First, we're going to look at the fives, and these refer to Geburah. The fives. In the Naples arrangement, the introduction of the number 5 shows the idea of motion coming to the aid of that of matter. This is quite a revolution. So my computer went wonky for a minute. Okay. In the Naples arrangement, the introduction of the number 5 shows the idea of motion coming to the aid of that of matter. This is quite a revolutionary conception. The result is a complete upset of the statically stabilized system. Now appear storm and stress. This must not be regarded as something evil. The natural feeling about it is really a little bit more than the reluctance of people to get up from lunch and go back to the job. In the Buddhist doctrine of sorrow, this idea is implicit, that inertia and insensitiveness must characterize peace. The climate of India is perhaps partly responsible for this notion. The adepts of the white school, of which the tarot is the sacred book, cannot agree to such a simplification of existence. Every phenomenon is a sacrament. For all that, a disturbance is a disturbance. The Five of Wands is called strife. Page 191. Strife, the Five of Wands. This card is referred to Geburah in the suit of fire. Geburah itself being fiery, it is a purely active force. It is ruled also by Saturn and Leo. Leo shows the element of fire at its strongest and most balanced. Saturn tends to weigh it down and to embitter it. There is no limit to the scope of this volcanic energy. The symbol represents the wand of the chief adept, showing that the authority is derived from the superiors. Were it not so, this card would be thoroughly disastrous. Moreover, there are also the two wands of the second or major adept. They have the head of the phoenix, which gives the idea of destruction, or rather purgation through fire, and the resurrection of the energy from its ashes. There is also a pair of wands of the third or minor adept, which are daughters, so to speak, of the wands of the Three of Wands. In this card, there is the mitigating influence of the mother. One of the most difficult doctrines with regard to Geburah is that, while it represents all this tameless, irrational energy and disturbance, yet it derives from the benign and gentle influence of the feminine. The Egyptians understood this doctrine perfectly. Their lion goddess Pasht was hailed as Siva, and Ferox was even called Red in Tooth and Claw by those fanatical devotees who wished to identify her with nature. The idea of sexual cruelty is often inherent in the highest divine nature. Compare Bhavani and Kali in the Hindu system, and observe the Shiva-Shakti coalition portrayed in many Tibetan banners. See also Liber 418, the fourth, third, and second aethers, and the description supra of Atu 11. The Six of Wands. So first we're going to look at the sixes in general, page 181. The sixes. These cards are attributed to Tiferet. This Sephira is in some respects the most important of all. It is the center of the whole system. It is the only Sephira below the abyss, which communicates directly with Keter. It is fed directly from Chokmah and Binah, also from Chesed and Geburah. It is thus admirably fitted to dominate the lower Sephirot. It is balanced both vertically and horizontally. In the planetary system, it represents the Sun, S-U-N. In the system of Tetragrammaton, it represents the Sun, S-O-N. The entire geometrical complex of the Ruach may be regarded as an expansion from Tiferet. It represents consciousness in its most harmonized and balanced form. Definitely in form, not only in idea. as in the case of the number 2. In other words, the Son is an interpretation of the Father in terms of the mind. The 4 sixes are thus representative of their respective element at their practical best. The 6 of Wands is called victory. The outburst of energy in the 5 of Wands, which was so sudden and violent that it even gave the idea of strife, has now completely won success. The rule or lordship in the suit of Wands is not quite as stable as it might have been if there had been less energy displayed. So, from this point, as soon as the current leaves the middle pillar, the inherent weakness in the element of fire, which is this, that for all its purity it is not completely balanced, leads to very undesirable developments. Now we look at the 6 of Wands specifically on page 192. Victory, the 6 of Wands. This card represents Tiferet in the suit of fire. This shows energy in completely balanced manifestation. The 5 has broken up the closed forces of the 4 with revolutionary ardor, but a marriage has taken place between them, and the result is the Sun, S-O-N, and the Sun, S-U-N. The reference is also to Jupiter and Leo, which seem to imply a benediction on the harmony and beauty of this arrangement. It will be seen that the 3 wands of the 3 adepts are now orderly arranged, and the flames themselves, instead of shooting out in all directions, burn steadily as in lamps. They are 9 in number, in reference to Yesod and the moon. This shows the stabilization of the energy and its reception and reflection by the feminine. There is no circle to enclose the system. It is self-supporting, like the sun. The 7 of Wands. So first we're going to look at the 7s in general. Page 182. The 4 sevens. These cards are referred to Netzach. The position is doubly unbalanced, off the middle pillar, and very low down on the tree. It is taking a very great risk to descend so far into illusion, and above all to do it by frantic struggle. Netzach pertains to Venus. Netzach pertains to Earth. And the greatest catastrophe that can befall Venus is to lose her heavenly origin. The 4 sevens are not capable of bringing any comfort. Each one represents the degeneration of the element. Its utmost weakness is exposed in every case. The 7 of Wands is called valor. Energy feels itself at its last gasp. It struggles desperately and may be overcome. This card brings out the defect inherent in the idea of Mars. Patriotism, so to speak, is not enough. So that's in general about the 7s. Now we're going to go to the 7 of Wands in particular. Page 192. Valor. The 7 of Wands. This card derives from Netzach, victory, in the suit of fire. But the 7 is a weak, earthy, feminine number as regards the tree of life, and represents a departure from the balance so low down on the tree that this implies a loss of confidence. Fortunately, the card is also attributed to Mars and Leo. Leo is still the sun in his full strength, but the marks of decadence are already to be seen. It is as if the wavering fire summoned the brutal energy of Mars to its support. But this is not enough to counteract fully the degeneration of the initial energy and the departure from equilibrium. The army has been thrown into disorder. If victory is to be won, it will be by dint of individual valor, a soldier's battle. The pictorial representation shows the fixed and balanced wands of the last card relegated to the background, diminished and become commonplace. In front is a large, crude, uneven club, the first weapon to hand, evidently unsatisfactory in ordered combat. The flames are dispersed and seem to attack in all directions without systematic purpose. The Eight of Wands. First, we're going to look at the eights in general. Page 183, the four eights. The four eights are attributed to Hod, being in the same plane as the sevens on the tree of life, but on the other side, the same inherent defects as are found in the sevens will apply. Yet one may perhaps urge this alleviation, that the eights come as, in a sense, a remedy for the error of the sevens. The mischief has been done, and there is now a reaction against it. One may therefore expect to find that, while there is no possibility of perfection in the cards of this number, they are free from such essential and original errors as in the lower case. The Eight of Wands is called swiftness, as one might expect from its attribution to Mercury and Sagittarius. This is an etherealization of the idea of fire. All gross elements have disappeared. Let there be a short digression with regard to the signs of the zodiac. In the case of each element, the cardinal sign represents the swift, impulsive onrush of the idea. In the cherubic sign, the element has come to its full balance of power, and in the other signs, the force is fading away. Thus, Aries represents the rush of fire, lightning; Leo, its power, the sun; and Sagittarius, the rainbow, its sublimation. Similar considerations apply to the other elements. See the attribution section, the triplicities of the zodiac. In the Eight of Wands, fire is no longer conjoined with the ideas of combustion and destruction. It represents energy in its most exalted and tenuous sense. This suggests such forms thereof as the electric current. One might almost say pure light in the material sense of that word. Now we're going to look at the Eight of Wands in particular, page 193. Swiftness, the Eight of Wands. The remaining three cards of the suit belong to Sagittarius, which represent the subtilizing of the fiery energy. And Mercury rules the card, thus bringing down from Chokmah the message of the original will. The card also refers to Hod, splendor. In the suit of fire, whence it refers to the phenomena of speech, light, and electricity. The pictorial representation of the card shows the light wands turned into electrical rays, sustaining or even constituting matter by their vibrating energy. Above this restored universe shines the rainbow, the division of pure light, which deals with maxima, into the seven colors of the spectrum, which exhibit interplay and correlation. This card, therefore, represents energy of high velocity, such as furnishes the master key to modern mathematical physics. It will be noted that there are no flames, They have all been taken up into the wands to turn them into rays. On the other hand, the electrical energy has created intelligible geometrical form. The Nine of Wands. Strength, the Nine of Wands. So first we're going to look at the nines in general. Page 185, the four nines. These cards are attributed to Yesod. After the double excursion into misfortune, the current returns to the middle pillar. This Sephira is the seat of the great crystallization of energy, but it takes place very far down the tree, at the apex of the third descending triangle, and a flat triangle at that. There is little help from low, unbalanced spheres like Netzach and Hod. What saves Yesod is the direct ray from Tiferet. This Sephira is in the direct line of succession. Each of these cards gives the full impact of the elemental force, but in its most material sense, that is, of the idea of the force, for Yesod is still in Yetzirah, the formative world. Zoroaster says the number 9 is sacred and attains the summit of perfection. Egypt and Rome also had 9 major deities. The Nine of Wands is called strength. It is ruled by the moon and Yesod. In the vision and the voice, the 11th Aether gives a classical account of the resolution of this antinomy of change and stability. The student should also consult the works of any of the better mathematical physicists of all important doctrines concerning equilibrium. This is the easiest to understand, that change is stability, that stability is guaranteed by change, that if anything should stop changing for the fraction of a split second, it would go to pieces. It is the intense energy of the primal elements of nature. Call them electrons, atoms, anything you will. It makes no difference. Change guarantees the order of nature. This is why, in learning to ride a bicycle, one falls in an extremely awkward and ridiculous manner. Balance is made difficult by not going fast enough. So also, one cannot draw a straight line if one's hand shakes. This card is a sort of elementary parable to illustrate the meaning of this aphorism: change is stability. Here the moon, the weakest of the planets, is in Sagittarius, the most elusive of the signs, yet it dares call itself strength. Defense to be effective must be mobile. So now we move to the Nine of Wands in particular on page 193, strength. The Nine of Wands. This card is referred to Yesod, the foundation. This brings the energy back into balance. The 9 represents always the fullest development of the force and its relation with the forces above it. The 9 may be considered as the best that can be obtained from the type involved, regarded from a practical and material standpoint. This card is also governed by the moon in Sagittarius, so here is a double influence of the moon on the tree of life, hence the aphorism changes stability. The wands have now become arrows. There are 8 of them in the background, and in front of them is one master arrow. This has the moon for its point and the sun for the driving force above it. For the path of Sagittarius on the tree of life joins the sun and moon. The flames in the card are tenfold, implying that the energy is directed downwards. The Ten of Wands. So first we look at the tens in general. Page 187, the 4 tens. These cards are attributed to Malkut. Here is the end of all energy. It is away from the formative world altogether, where things are elastic. There is now no planetary attribution to consider. So far as the Sephira is concerned, it is right down in the world of Asiya. By the mere fact of having devised 4 elements, the current has derogated from the original perfection. The tens are a warning, see whither it leads, to take the first wrong step. The 10 of Wands is called oppression. This is what happens when one uses force, and nothing else but force all the time. Here looms the dull and heavy planet Saturn, weighing down the fiery, ethereal side of Sagittarius. It brings out all the worst in Sagittarius. See the archer not shooting forth benign rays, but dealing the sharp rain of death. The wand has conquered. It has done its work. It has done its work too well. It did not know when to stop. Government has become tyranny. One thinks of the Hydra when one reflects that King Charles was beheaded in Whitehall. Now we go to the 10 of Wands in particular. Page 194, oppression, the 10 of Wands. The number 10 refers to Malkut, which depends from the other 9 Sephirot, but is not directly in communication with them. It shows the force detached from its spiritual sources. It has become a blind force, so the most violent form of that particular energy, without any modifying influences. The flames in the background of the card have run wild. It is fire in its most destructive aspect. The card also refers to the influence of Saturn and Sagittarius. Here is the greatest antipathy. Sagittarius is spiritual, swift, light, elusive, and luminous. Saturn is material, slow, heavy, obstinate, and obscure. The 8 wands are still crossed, showing the enormous power of the completed energies of fire, but they have lost their patents of nobility. Their ends seem more like claws. They lack the authority and intelligence shown in the earlier cards. And in front are the 2 formidable Dorges and the 2 of Wands, but lengthened to bars. The whole picture suggests oppression and repression. It is a stupid, obstinate cruelty from which there is no escape. It is a will which has not understood anything beyond its dull purpose, its lust of result, and will devour itself in the conflagrations it has evoked. Now we move to the court cards. The Knight of Wands. So first of all, we're going to go to page 149 and look at the Knight, the Knights in general. The Knights represent the powers of the letter Yod in the name. They are the most sublime, original, active part of the energy of the element. For this reason, they are represented on horseback and clad in complete armor. Their action is swift and violent, but transient. In the element of fire, for instance, the knight corresponds to the lightning flash, in the element of water to rain and springs, in that of air to wind, and in that of earth to mountains. It is very important as a mental exercise to work out for oneself these correspondences between the symbol and the natural forces which they represent. And it is essential to practical magical work to have assimilated this knowledge. Speaking of which, if we flip to the back of the book and we go to page 286, The court cards, not the princess, but the knight, queen, and prince are associated with forces of nature. So the Knight of Wands, Fire of Fire, is associated with lightning. Swift violence of onset. And then the Prince of Wands will be the Sun, S-U-N, steady force of energy. And then the Queen of Wands, the Rainbow, fading spiritualized reflection of the image. But anyways, the Knight of Wands is Fire of Fire, it's lightning. Swift violence of onset. So the Knight of Wands, page 151. The Knight of Wands represents the fiery part of fire. He rules from the 21st degree of Scorpio to the 20th degree of Sagittarius. He is a warrior in complete armor. On his helmet for a crest, he wears a black horse. In his hand he bears a flaming torch, a flame also in his mantle, and upon the flames does he ride. His steed is a black horse leaping. The moral qualities appropriate to this figure are activity, generosity, fierceness, impetuosity, pride, impulsiveness, swiftness, and unpredictable actions. If wrongly energized, he is evil-minded, cruel, bigoted, and brutal. He is in either case ill-fitted to carry on his action. He has no means of modifying it according to circumstances. If he fails in his first effort, he has no resource. In the I Ching, the fiery part of fire is represented by the 51st hexagram Kan. The signification there given is entirely in accordance with the doctrine of the tarot, but great emphasis is laid on the startling, perilous, and revolutionary character of the events cognate. The querent is advised to be apprehensive yet cool, resolute and energetic, to beware of untimely action, but to go forward with tense confidence in his own ability. All these correspondences of the I Ching are to be studied in that book, SBE Volume 16, and references here made to the text when important passages are too long to be conveniently quoted. The Queen of Wands, and by the way, the Knights refer to Hokmah, the Queens to Binah. The Queen of Wands. So let's look at the Queens in particular. And here it's getting a little bit into, well, we'll see. The Queens represent the letter He of the name. Well, possibly like sex magic, the force is projected and then it's received. And so that force is received. And then the child of that union is the prince, which manifests as the princess in matter. But so the four court cards could be seen as a formula of sex magic. So anyways, the queens in general, page 150. The queens represent the letter He of the name. They are the complements of the knights. They receive, ferment, and transmit the original energy of their knight. Quick to receive that energy, they are also, like, and the womb also, quick to receive that energy, they are also fitted to endure for the period of their function. But they are not the final product. They represent the second stage in the process of creation, whose fourth and last state is material realization, represented by the princesses. They are represented as seated upon thrones. This emphasizes the fact that they are appointed to exercise definite functions. Again, in natural forces of nature, the Queen of Wands represents the rainbow. So when you see the rainbow, it's the Queen of Wands in tarot. Fading spiritualized reflection of the image. So now the Queen of Wands, page 152. The Queen of Wands represents the watery part of fire. Its fluidity and color Also, she rules in the zodiac from the 21st degree of Pisces to the 20th degree of Aries. Her crown is topped with the winged globe and rayed with flame. Her long red golden hair flows down upon her armor of scaled mail. She is seated upon a throne of flame, ordered into geometrical light by her material power. Beneath the throne, the surging flames are steady. She bears a wand in her left hand, but it is topped with a cone suggestive of the mysteries of Bacchus. She is attended by a couchant leopard, upon whose head she lays her hand. Her face expresses the ecstasy of one whose mind is well endrawn to the mystery born beneath her bosom. The characteristics of the queen are adaptability, persistent energy, calm authority, which she knows how to use to enhance her attractiveness. She is kindly and generous, but impatient of opposition. She has immense capacity for friendship and for love, but always on her own initiative. There is as much pride in this card as in the Knight, but it lacks the spontaneous nobility which excuses that error. It is not true pride, but self-complacent vanity, even snobbery. The other side of her character is that she may have a tendency to brood, come to a wrong decision thereon, and react with great savagery. She may be easily deceived. Then she is likely to show herself stupid, obstinate, tyrannical. She may be quick to take offense and harbor revenge without good cause. She might turn and snap at her best friends without intelligible excuse. Also, when she misses her bite, she breaks her jaw. In the I Ching, the watery part of fire is represented by the 17th hexagram Sui. It indicates reflection upon impulse and the consequently even flow of action. There is great capacity for lucid conception and steady prosecution of work, but this is only at the bidding and under the guidance of some creative mind. There is a tendency to be fickle, even disloyal. The ideas which she obeys makes no deep or permanent impression. She will cleave to the little boy and let go the man of age and experience. Or the reverse, lines 2 and 3, without realizing what she is doing. There is a liability of fits of melancholy, which she seeks to cure by bouts of intoxication, or by panic-stricken outbursts of ill-considered fury. The Prince of Wands. And this represents like the magical child from like a sex magic perspective. The princes represent the forces of the letter Vau in the name. The prince is the son of the queen, the old king's daughter, by the knight who has won her. He is therefore represented, the princes are represented as in a chariot, going forth to carry out the combined energy of his parents. He is the active issue of their union. This is the magical, like, astral child. He is going forth to carry out the combined energy of his parents. He is the active issue of their union and its manifestation. He is the intellectual image of their union. His action is consequently more enduring than that of his forebears. In one respect, indeed, he acquires a relative permanence, because he is the published record of what has been done in secret. Also, he is the dying God, redeeming his bride in the hour and by the virtue of his murder. The Prince of Wands represents the sun, S-U-N, the steady force of energy of fire. So the Prince of Wands, page 153. The Prince of Wands represents the airy part of fire with its faculty of expanding and volatilizing. So the Prince of Wands represents the airy part of fire with its faculty of expanding and volatilizing. He rules from the 21st degree of Cancer to the 20th degree of Leo. He is a warrior in complete armor of scale mail, but his arms are bare on account of his vigor and activity. He wears a rayed crown, surmounted by a lion's head winged, and from this crown depends a curtain of flame. On his breast is the sigil of Tomegatherion. In his left hand he bears the phoenix wand of the second adept in the ritual of the Adeptus Minor of the RR at AC. The wand of power and energy, while with his other arm he reins the lion which draws his chariot, the chariot which is fortified by a wheel radiating flame. He rides upon a sea of flames, both waved and salient. The moral qualities appropriate to this figure are swiftness and strength, but he is sometimes inclined to act on impulse, sometimes easily led by external influences, sometimes, especially in trifles, a prey to indecision. He is often violent, especially in the expression of an opinion, but he does not necessarily hold the opinion about which he is so emphatic. He states a vigorous proposition for the sake of stating it. He is, in fact, very slow to make up his mind thoroughly on any subject, but always sees both sides of every question. He is essentially just, but always feels that justice is not to be attained in the intellectual world. His character is intensely noble and generous. He may be an extravagant boaster, while slyly laughing both at the object of his boast and at himself for making it. He is romantic, especially in matters of history and tradition, to the point of folly, and may engineer stunts or play elaborate practical jokes. He might select some inoffensive nobody and pursue him for years with every weapon of ridicule, as Swift tormented the unhappy partridge, all without the least animus, ready to give the shirt off his back should his victim be in need. His sense of humor is omnivorous, and may make him a mysterious figure, dreaded without reason by people who actually know nothing about him but his name, as a symbol of terror. This is due to the influence of the last deacon of Cancer upon this card. One of his greatest faults is pride. Meanness and pettiness of any kind he holds in infinite scorn. His courage is fanatically strong, and his endurance indefatigable. He is always fighting against odds, and always wins in the very long run. This is principally due to his enormous capacity for work, which he exercises for its own sake, without lust of result. Perhaps his haughty contempt for the world at large, which however coexists with profound and ecstatic respect for every man and every woman as a star, is responsible for this. When this card is badly dignified, the character degenerates. Each of the qualities mentioned above is found in its antithesis. There is great cruelty in him, partly sadistic and partly due to callousness arising from indifference, and in a sense laziness. So too he may be intolerant, prejudiced, and idle, principally because it saves trouble. He may furthermore be an empty boaster and a great coward. In the Yi Ching, the airy part of fire is represented by the 42nd hexagram, Yi, which signifies addition, increase. Full of virtue and confident therein, he contemplates work of stupendous scope, often with the idea expressed in line 5, with sincere heart seeking to benefit all below. In this he may achieve immense success, but this course is fraught with commensurate danger. We see one to whose increase none will contribute, while many will seek to assail him. He observes no regular rule in the ordering of his heart, line 6. This peril avoided, there come parties adding to the store of its subject 10 pair of tortoise shells whose oracles cannot be opposed. Let the king employ them in presenting his offerings to God. Line 2. And finally, the Princess of Wands. So the princesses represent the he final of the name. They represent the ultimate issue of the original energy in its completion, its crystallization, its materialization. They also represent the counterbalancing, the reabsorption of the energy. They represent the silence into which all things return. They are thus at the same time permanent and non-existent, an audit of the equation 0 equals 2. The princesses have no zodiacal attribution, yet evidently they represent 4 types of human being. They are those numerous elemental people whom we recognize by their lack of all sense of responsibility, whose moral qualities seem to lack bite. They are subdivided according to planetary predominance. Such types have been repeatedly described in fiction. As Eliphas Levi wrote, "The love of the magus for such creatures is insensate and may destroy him." The relations, I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of this part. The relations between these 4 elements of the name are extraordinarily complex, quite beyond the scope of any ordinary treatise to discuss. They change with every application of thought to their meaning. For instance, no sooner has the princess made her appearance than the prince wins her in marriage, and she is set upon the throne of her mother. She thus awakens the eld of the original old king, who thereupon becomes a young knight, and so renews the cycle. The princess is not only the perfect maiden, but owing to the death of the prince, the forsaken and lamenting widow. All this occurs in the legends characteristic of the Aeon of Osiris. It is hardly possible definitely to disentangle these complications, but for the student it is sufficient if he will be content to work with one legend at a time. It is natural that the Aeon of Osiris, the regimen of air, of strife, of intellect, should be thus confused, that its symbols and formulas should overlap, thus contradict each other. It is impossible to harmonize the multitudinous fables or parables, because each was invented to emphasize some formula that was regarded as imperative to serve some local or temporal purpose. And the princesses don't have an element of nature like the sun, the rainbow, the lightning. The princesses don't have that. But the princesses rule the North Celestial Pole, which is pretty cool. So the Princess of Wands. The Princess of Wands, which is also associated with Malkut. The Princess of Wands represents the earthy part of fire. One might say she is the fuel of fire. This expression implies the irresistible chemical attraction of the combustible substance. She rules the heavens for 1 quadrant of the portion around the North Pole. The princess is therefore shown with the plumes of justice streaming like flames from her brow, and she is unclothed, showing that chemical action can only take place when the element is perfectly free to combine with its partner. She bears a wand crowned with the disk of the sun, and she is leaping in a surging flame which recalls by its shape the letter Yod. This card may be said to represent the dance of the virgin priestess of the Lords of Fire, for she is in attendance upon the golden altar ornamented with ram's heads, symbolizing the fires of spring. The character of the princess is extremely individual. She is brilliant and daring. She creates her own beauty by her essential vigor and energy. The force of her character imposes the impression of beauty upon the beholder. In anger or love, she is sudden, violent, and implacable. She consumes all that comes into her sphere. She is ambitious and aspiring, full of enthusiasm, which is often irrational. She never forgets an injury, and the only quality of patience to be found in her is the patience with which she lies in ambush to avenge. Such a woman, ill-dignified, shows the defects of these qualities. She is superficial and theatrical, completely shallow and false, yet without suspecting that she is anything of the sort, for she believes entirely in herself, even when it is apparent to the most ordinary observer that she is merely in the spasm of mood. She is cruel, unreliable, faithless, and domineering. In the I Ching, the earthy part of fire is described in the 27th hexagram, E. This shows a person omnivorous in passion of whatever kind, entirely reckless in the means of obtaining gratification, and insatiable. The Yi commentary is packed with alternative warning and encouragement. So that is the wand suit. Again, this is the beginning. There's going to be a lot more videos, but this could be used as like a meditative aid to cycle through the minor arcana. And so I'll even listen to this myself, because I don't think there is anything on YouTube or anywhere where someone just goes through the wand suit like that. So I'm probably going to use this aid myself. So more to come with this, and that was cycling through the wand suit of the Thoth Tarot. And yep, so much more to come, and maybe someone that'll be helpful as a meditative aid to listen to as you go through the cards. What I like to do is to do that every single day. Go through all of the wands daily for a week, and then go on to the next suit. So it's useful. And then, of course, there's a lot more videos out there. And I look forward, this is for Patreon, but I think that this will help a lot of people when it's released after a year. I think it'll help people. So, more videos to come. I'm not going to lie, I'm tired. That was a long video. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me and for doing this with me. And I will see y'all in the next video.